Hey, Foot Clan, before we start today's show, I want to remind you to head over to pristineauction.com for all the best memorabilia that you can get on the interwebs. Look, I hope he's not listening right now, but for my father, for Father's Day, I snagged him a signed Fran Tarkenton jersey, Hall of Fame Vikings quarterback. He might soil his pants when he sees this thing because it is so fantastic. I'm so excited to give it to him. But head over to pristineauction.com. That's PRISTINE auction.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show. The Fantasy Footballers back again. However you're listening, wherever, whenever, we are here delivering the fantasy football news you need to have, the strategy talk you need to digest. Andy, Mike, and Jason back again Thursday, May 19th. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well. We're here.
You have to digest it, Mike.
For some reason, that was kind of funny to me. I don't know why.
Is it because you're like digesting lunch right now?
That may be it.
Chipotle burrito?
Those things happen.
Very good. We've got a good show. We've got, I think, a very intriguing quick question, a bunch of fantasy news today. We're going to do the Review-a-saurus. We're going to hit the mailbag.
Hit it hard.
We're going to hit it hard, answer a lot of questions, and a lot of good questions that apply to a lot of people, I think, too.
Well, part of that is because we've got genuinely the best listeners, and their questions make a lot of sense. They've got great questions. We've got all the questions. We've got the best questions.
That turned into Trump fast. You went straight into Trump. All the words, all the best words.
Exactly.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can do so a number of different ways. You can head over to jointhefoot.com, our fantasy football community, where you will find many a listener of this show. You can head over to Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can connect with each of us. Mike is at FF Hitman.
Yep.
Jason is at JasonFFL, and I am at Andy Holloway. And that is Holloway, HOLLOWAY. That is to all of the Little League coaches that got my trophies wrong when I was a kid.
I was a kid. Unlike hallway,
everybody
really
spells
cute.
it HALL.
Yeah, like I took a walk down the hallway.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will not let that happen to my son, who I just signed up for baseball for the very first time, who will be playing with Jason's son in a league.
That's right, and my son's going to steal your son's trophy.
I hope they
from the same team.
That's not how I was expecting this to go. I thought they were going to be teammates.
Yeah.
You're just a vindictive champion for fantasy football. You can also find us on YouTube, on the Fantasy Sports Network, on Facebook, and on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. That's where you can submit questions to the show to be a part of the mailbag section, the mailbag segment of the show. Let's do this first. Quick question.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
This question, let me pose it this way. Heading into the 2016 fantasy season, what player, if they disappoint, will make you cry? So what player do you have good expectations for, or somebody that you're just going to be so sad if they don't deliver in 2016?
I will go ahead and I will open this up, and I'm going with my man up in Philadelphia, Ryan Mathews.
Okay.
I have already invested time into a trade. I have already traded for him. I have already acquired him. And because I really believe in him this season, I think the opportunity is spectacular. I think he's by far the best running back on the team. I think he's a hyper-talented running back. Why this will be an exponential cry, because the last time I was this excited for Ryan Mathews was the double collarbone fracture year. So I'm hoping that the things are all glued together.
And if not,
get that Gorilla Glue on there.
You'll have the tissues out.
Yeah, the tears will come streaming down my face.
Heartbreak. Jason, you want to give me yours?
Yeah, the guy that comes to mind actually is because he just made me sad already. So I'm like pre-sad about him.
Oh, I know who this is.
Which is Sammy Watkins. I saw such big things for Sammy Watkins this year. I really believe in the talent. I actually think Buffalo, despite the bad week they have had, I think their offense could be something pretty good. Charles Clay's a sneaky good tight end. I think Tyrod Taylor's a sneaky good quarterback. Sammy Watkins shouldn't be a sneaky good wide receiver. Should just be like a known great wide receiver. my point is, I think they could, and LeSean McCoy, he should be great. So I like them.
Will he be sneaky good?
Right, but with
He's
Sammy Watkins,
shadily good.
I really, really hope he has a great year, and
He'll be fine.
I hope so.
I think he'll be fine. So don't get wipe those pre-tears away.
Thank you. All right, who you got?
Looking
Andy?
like Sam Bradford over here.
You know, I'm gonna go with Lamar Miller. If Lamar Miller fails in this opportunity, got paid the money, switched to a franchise that knows how to run the ball, wants to hand the ball to a workhorse guy, can catch the ball out of the backfield. If he disappoints, it will be very sad. You know, it's not the perfect comparison, but all the hype around a guy like Percy Harvin for years, where he keeps landing in new destinations and you keep waiting for him to be something special. Lamar was something special, but it was such a limited workload that you just didn't know when you could count on it. So if he fails in Houston, if he disappoints in Houston, I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be sad for you too, Jason.
It's not just you, though. I think the entire fantasy football community will have a big collective shower cry if Lamar Miller fails. I mean, I
don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's one.
Why do we all have to be in the shower? Gosh.
Well, because you do your best crying in the shower where no one can see the tears.
But if you're there together, it's terrible.
I'm a real man, Mike. I'll cry in public.
I will
all the time.
I do. All my crying is Ace Ventura style, balled up, nude in the shower.
Well, that's what makes you special, Mike. All right, before we jump into the news, we want to take a second and read a review from iTunes. One of the big things that you can do to help the show is to support us on iTunes, and so let's do that right now. Jason is the official review reader, so we'll start right now.
Review-a-saurus Rex.
This one comes in from Zach Hims. This one says, saved my sanity. The off-season podcasts have let me keep my sanity as my 7-month-old has decided to give up on sleeping through the night. Thanks for keeping it going. The quality of the shows and the content is excellent. I look forward to hearing a new episode every Tuesday and Thursday in the off-season. Well, Zach H., you're my best friend.
I believe it's Herms, and me and you, Zach, we are living the same life. My 2-year-old has decided that going to sleep is for the birds. He has learned how to crawl out of the crib. So at any moment, and he's a ninja. He is a ninja getting out of the crib. You don't.
So you're a little bit proud and a lot sad.
Yeah, and he just all of a sudden he sneaks, and his favorite thing to do is he sneaks up on you and he screams, "I want to tell you a joke." And then he gives you the knock-knock interrupting cow joke. This is what he does.
He just screams it just to, to startle you?
Yeah, this is my night. At 10 p.m., I get to hear knock-knock jokes.
At 10 p.m., you get woken awake by, I'm going to tell you a joke.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Well, that just took a turn for the worse.
All right, so I have one more thing I want to address before we get into the news, and we pride ourselves. Look, we have a good time on the show. We like each other, I think. We try to be entertaining and enjoy, talking to the listeners. But we want to be accurate.
Absolutely.
And we want to help you win your league. There's a reason there are so many people writing in with #FootClan title. And that's because you mix the enjoyment of the podcast with victories. And that is the goal of this show. I say all that because look, it doesn't happen very often, but give
it to me.
Jason made a mistake on the last show, so I'm just going to let him explain, and I may or may not have to give him some music.
Well, I saw a stat, and that stat was wrong. And sometimes people they just want to hide their failings.
But not you.
But here, I feel I need the shame. I need to self-shame and be shamed by others.
Actually, you begged us not to, but but go ahead and continue.
Because last week I said that the Patriots had a Week 4 bye, and the truth is they did in 2015. But they do not have that in 2016. I was looking backwards, not forwards. And Foot Clan out there, I apologize. You expect accurate information on here, and we're going to give it to you. And when we don't, we will come to the confession table.
That's right.
And call ourselves out on it.
That's
I apologize. All right, let's have a great show.
I feel pretty good about that now. All right, we can move on.
News and notes from around the league.
I will say this. Everyone out there is now very prepared for the next time the Patriots have a Week 4 bye and the implications on the roster. So, all right, let's talk about the news that we just missed after we recorded last on Tuesday, the Tuesday show. We did not get to talk about Sammy Watkins' foot injury. Now, this could be a blessing in disguise that we didn't get to talk about it yet.
Right.
Because when these things break, whether it's on some app that you have or on Roto-World or someplace else, you just don't know a lot yet. You haven't heard a lot from the team. The news was that Sammy Watkins had a broken foot, and he had surgery. But now we're understanding that the expectation is Sammy Watkins should, and that is a big word in fantasy football, he should be back. And the surgery took place about a month ago. So how are you feeling? I mean, you brought up Sammy Watkins. If he disappoints you, you're going to cry. I told you not to worry about it, so that's how I'm feeling. But Mike, what about you? What is your Watkins fears when you hear something like this?
It's at this point, I'm not going to let it over control me. I haven't touched him in my rankings. I think he's perfectly fine where he is. Jason has been at the forefront of the Sammy Watkins love for this office, and we actually had the discussion on Monday. I was like, man, I'm just digging through it some more. The more
you
and
were
more getting ready for the draft kit. You know, I'm really warming up to Watkins to move him up a tier. And then of course the foot problem happens, and I mean the information about the foot is all over the place. It's he just broke his foot. No, he had the surgery a month ago. He should be ready for training camp. He might miss the beginning of the season. So this is still a very hodgepodge, up in the air situation where we don't have. I don't think we have concrete facts yet.
We have a few.
Okay, give me the few that we know.
What we do know is obviously he had a broken bone in the foot, and he got a screw placed in the foot. Usually, I mean, it's pretty common if this is the Jones fracture that puts a screw in the foot. What you see with that is a 7 to 8 week timetable for returning the first time. But you also have a 12.5% historical event of having a repeat surgery that the first one doesn't take. So it's pretty good odds, right? I mean, you're almost 90% that he should be fine, be past this. He already has the offseason time to heal. So this is probably going to drive his value down a little bit in the draft. He'll fall a couple spots as people just say, I'd rather take the guy behind him or near him that doesn't have that value. And you're going to take that gamble and say, hey, I got 90% odds he's going to play this season, at least through this injury, that the foot is healed. So maybe it turns out to be a better thing, but there is that new little piece of a gamble whenever you have a surgery like this, that there's a repeat surgery. And if that happens, just to let everybody know, that timetable for recovery then changes. It's not another 7 to 8 week recovery. It's usually at that point a 4 to 6 month recovery. So if he has another one, he's going to miss a big chunk of the season.
And I'll say this, if it turns out, because like Adam Schefter's saying they're hoping he's ready for week 1. If he is not ready until that time, he's going to fall in drafts and could be an ultimate steal if he ends up being ready. If you take the risk that say, I'm going in on Watkins, I think he'll be ready, I'm going to draft him in the 4th round, you could get a fantastic deal or be the butt of the joke for the entire year.
All right, let's move over to Philadelphia. Coach Doug Peterson has heaped praise on 5th round running back Wendell Smallwood. Now, Smallwood is a guy who I would expect to replace Darren Sproles if they don't see Sproles as part of the kind of backfield group of guys this year. So should we take a flyer on Wendell Smallwood? I mean, it's not like Ryan Mathews has been the healthiest of running backs in his career, and if he is indeed the guy that's going to carry the load, will that just mean 1st and 2nd down? I mean, we've had a lot of promise about Ryan Mathews in the past being able to be, I think he is capable of being that pass-catching type of guy, but you don't draft a guy in the 5th round for no reason. So what is your thought about Smallwood, or is this just more put him on your radar a little bit?
I think that Smallwood, the reason we like Ryan Mathews, the reason I like Ryan Mathews is because when I look at the landscape of the running backs there, I see a new coach that comes in who has a history of running the ball and having a guy be successful both around the red zone and just total yards on the season. And I see no running backs there other than Ryan Mathews, and that's including Wendell Smallwood. Now, he's a talented guy, but he's a smaller guy. He's not a guy that's going to eat in, and I don't expect anything close to a 50-50 timeshare here. But he should be on your radar for exactly what you mentioned, because should Ryan Mathews go out, If I thought that there was nobody there beforehand, now Wendell Smallwood is the entirety of their backfield. As of right now, they still have Darren Sproles, but I don't expect a lot of other competition. So, I mean, that's really why I like the backfield situation for the Eagles right now. Because of that trade for Carson Wentz, they weren't able to really fill out their backfield the way that they probably would have wanted to going into this year.
Well, I still think they will. I think that's what we haven't seen yet. I think Philadelphia will sign a veteran back. You can't go into the season with what they have right now. So there will be somebody, it might not be Arian Foster, right? But a veteran type of player, a Robert Turbin type of guy could end up in that backfield.
Robert Turbin's locking up the backfield for the Colts, my man.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Something I did not know.
If it's a guy that caliber, I'm still not worried.
Okay, that's fair.
Obviously, if Arian Foster comes to town, sorry, Mike.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would cry if that
Michael Thomas, wide receiver, second-round wide receiver, signed or was drafted by the Saints. Supposed to have an immediate impact, or at least that's what the report today had. They have Brandin Coleman, Snead, Cooks, and now Michael Thomas.
Coby Fleener
there. Somebody to monitor a little bit more than maybe we thought?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. The landing spot could not have been better for Michael Thomas. He wasn't kind of the most celebrated rookie coming into the draft, at least talking, just dominant athletic like a Coleman and the things that Treadwell and Doxson are doing. He wasn't in that category. What?
Oh, I didn't really mean to hit that until the next piece of news. I was trying to just adjust the volume on it, but that was 100% for the next piece of news. So I will hit it again.
I'm really excited for the next piece. I don't know what it is, but
sorry.
So Michael Thomas. So people got real excited, as they should, with that landing spot. Drew Brees is a quarterback who has proven you're going to get huge volume of passing. You're going to get an efficient and a lot of scoring going on down in New Orleans. So if Michael Thomas can get in on that, and you're talking the rumors from the bushes, you're looking at a guy maybe 6+ touchdowns. I mean, that's immediate fantasy impact. So he will be a name that we need to monitor closer for redraft. Clearly, for Dynasty, people are all over him, but in redraft, he could be creeping into draft consideration now.
The Saints situation is a lot like the Patriots, where if Drew Brees and Tom Brady, they attach to a guy they like, it means really good things for them. If they don't have chemistry with a certain wide receiver, they don't. And so for me, it's a lot of wait and see. Will Coleman be that guy ever, or is he going to stay drop prone and problematic? And so does Thomas build that Colston-like rapport right away, or is it somebody that, if he doesn't trust him, he'll go away from him?
Well, the nice thing about that to me is that I think you're going to see it right away. I don't think this is something that's going to develop. I mean, look at Willie Snead, right? Willie Snead kind of came out of the gate, and from practices onto the field, it was like, hey, I like using Willie Snead. He's the guy that has my trust. And when we come out this year, starting in week 1, we're going to kind of see who they're putting out there and whether or not there's some trust there. Obviously, things will develop. He'll continue to grow that trust if he has any to begin with. But I think that this is a guy where you go, if you draft Chris Hogan with the hope that, hey, maybe he's a guy that Tom Brady attaches to. Here you go, hey, maybe he's the guy that Michael Thomas, that Drew Brees attaches to, and Michael Thomas. And then it's a high upside, low risk, because you're grabbing him, with your last pick probably as of right now. Maybe he'll come up a little bit. All right, let's move it on.
That means we got to move to the next one. That is officially Eric Decker expects free agent Ryan Fitzpatrick to be the week 1 starter. And so for all Decker and Marshall owners in the world, I hope you're right. I've expected that. I have guaranteed it here on the show.
That's Eric Decker looking in the mirror and imagining a world where Eric Decker is catching passes from Geno Smith.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be back.
I believe what you meant to say, Mike, is trying to catch passes from Geno Smith.
Trying hard.
Yes, I've been corrected. Thank you.
Yeah, so that is it for the quick news of the day before we get to the mailbag.
All right, before we get to the mailbag, I want to take a second and personally recommend today's sponsor, Blue Apron. Blue Apron is an awesome company that basically takes home cooking and gives it to you in your home, scheduled, planned, delivered to your door. I have had an incredibly good experience over the last few weeks with my wife and myself at home cooking fresh ingredients, real meals. I've had more variety in my dinners at home and more family time in those dinners because of Blue Apron over the last few weeks than probably in the last year combined. The food is delicious. It is premium ingredients, locally sourced, coming to me from, Arizona farms where I am. I really like just about everything about it. And the best part is that you can try it out for free, get a week of free meals plus free shipping. So here's what you do. Go on their website, Blue Apron, check out this week's menu, and you can get 2 meals free with free shipping, completely free. Go to blueapron.com/ballers. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. It's blueapron.com/ballers. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Mailbag.
Yeah. I had some delicious calzones.
I was just going to say, your boy, the fantasy hitman, was cooking snow peas, Foot Clan.
That doesn't happen normally.
No, it was outrageous and delicious.
All right. If you want to ask a question, I said it earlier, head to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. You can also dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. We know you've got keeper questions right now. You got dynasty questions. You're getting ready. I mean, it's May, but May might as well be over, and then June. It's just
what month is it?
June's so fast.
What month is it?
It's gotta bye.
I will not indulge that bit. I indulge so much that will not be one. Justin Timberlake is now making an appearance on my show,
dude. If we could get Justin Timberlake, on the
you're
show.
Very welcome, Justin Timberlake. If you'd like to come on. All right, Brandin in Orlando has our first question. And it's a good one because we talked a little bit about Ryan Mathews already. How do you feel about drafting Eagles players this year, such as Jordan Mathews, Nelson Agholor, Ryan Mathews, even Ruben Randall or Darren Sproles? Or let's toss Smallwood in there as well. Yeah. Love the show, and thank you for the #FootClan title.
Boom. All right, Brandon. It's...
I'll tell you what. I bet he did not have a lot of these players on his team last year when he won his #FootClan title.
Jordan Mathews had his place being the garbage man last year. Yeah. But here's the deal. I love Ryan Mathews, as we've already talked about. The wide receiving core, I think that's the extremely interesting and hard to predict thing for the Eagles right now. Jordan Mathews, is he just a glorified slot receiver? We don't know, because there was talk of him moving to the outside, and Nelson Agholor was actually the kind of the wide receiver one, so to speak, the guy who's getting the high snap percentage on the outside. There's more talk about, do we move Mathews to the outside? Can Agholor return on that first round value of being taken that high in the draft? And even Ruben Randall, where he's flashed and been terrible at the exact same time, but they don't have an established one. They do not have, this is the wide receiver one for the Philadelphia Eagles. So even Randall could be that guy.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan Mathews being desirable, and for the most part, nobody else. Now, I will say I also very much like Zach Ertz this year. Mm-hmm. And the reason is... I have
him way too high on my rankings.
Yes, you do. The reason for my hesitation is because with Doug Peterson coming over, we don't know, especially the change going from a Chip Kelly offense to a Doug Peterson offense. You just don't know exactly yet what his style is. You have to go from what you've seen in Kansas City the last few years, which was not a huge passing game, but a great running game. They do involve the tight end a little bit. So to me, Zach Ertz, Ryan Mathews, I want to love Jordan Mathews. I do. I like him a lot as a player, but I probably won't draft him this year because I just don't know what to expect. You could get lucky and nab the right guy at the right value, but on those kind of nebulous situations where you just don't have a read, I tend to stay clear of them.
All right, let's do a price check real quick then. So Jordan Mathews currently in the middle of the 6th round, okay? Nelson Agholor in the 14th round, and I'm sure Ruben Randall is likely undrafted at this point. So would you rather go Mathews in the 6th, Agholor in the 14th, or free Ruben Randall?
I'd go Mathews in the 6th because I don't believe in the talent of the other two. Randall,
I would actually go with Randall.
Ruben Randall's in the 14th too.
They paid Randall to come in there, and I think with the change in leadership, Randall would be the one other player that intrigues me as an undrafted prospect, a sleeper type of guy, because he is capable. He's a big body. He scores touchdowns. I will say this. I'm going to affirm the Zach Ertz information. Ertz is just a player that they want to stay involved
got
in the
paid.
game plan. And if Bradford is indeed the quarterback this season, which I think he will be, they built a rapport in the second half of the season that put him on pace to be one of the top guys. And I have him at number 3 right now in my rankings. So I know that that is bold, but you know what?
We'll have your apology video next week.
Well, you're going to have to wait for it. Got to give me a few weeks into the season. So let's go to Cody in Flagstaff, Arizona. Hey, guys. First off, love the show. Thanks for the water wheel.
Hey, all right.
So he says it is now the decision maker for the last place punishment.
Tremendous.
Which it is in our league, too, the Wheel of Water app.
If you don't have every other team in the league participate and water them 11 times, you're missing out.
Yeah, you are. So, all right, he said he drafted very lucky last year. He was able to jump at the chance to fill the roster with high upside receivers. We can only keep one player in our league, and he has the option of DeAndre Hopkins in the 4th, Allen Robinson in the 9th, or Lamar Miller in the 7th round. He's going to draft within the top 4 and can grab a running back there if he keeps a receiver. But Miller's potential in Houston and the scarcity at running back has me pushing back in that direction. So he says, I know you're not so high on Miller.
Love Miller.
Yeah, I think we're pretty high. I think we both have him. I think everybody's got him in the top 6,
Yeah,
right?
I think we're very high on Miller, but high enough to take him over Allen Robinson in the 9th, guys. What do you think?
Nope. Allen Robinson in the 9th would be my pick here.
Would you then go running back with one of those top 4?
I would consider it. You're in a 10-team league, so it can go either way. It just depends on the talent level there at pick 4.
All right, for me,
Lamar,
I'm going to take Lamar Miller. I get that out first so that you can split the difference here, Andy, and be the final vote. I would take Lamar Miller because you're in a 10-team league. You need those guys who really separate at the position. And while I like Allen Robinson a lot, I don't expect him to be able to replicate a top 5 wide receiver performance this year. I think he'll be pretty good. But Lamar Miller, I could see having the potential to be a top 5 running back, a real separator at the position. Neither pick is costing you much in the 7th or the 9th, so I go Lamar Miller. What say you, Andy?
2 points. One, I think this is as close to a split decision as you get, which is great to have those options at the keeper position. 2, I think it's a bit of a fallacy to say Allen Robinson, who's already done the great thing, might have a bad season, but Lamar Miller, who hasn't done the great thing, might have a good season, and have that be the logic to win the argument. That being said, I'm going to go with Lamar Miller.
Great.
Because your argument was just so good. No, just because I think the value for Miller is there. I prefer the value at a wide receiver or at running back more than I do the value at wide receiver. So, like I said, it's as close to 50-50 as I think I've seen on here. So, I will go with Lamar. Now, Mike in New Jersey has a question. He says 4 keepers, and he can trade whomever he doesn't keep. So, who does he keep?
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, or
Russell Wilson,
Shady McCoy, Des Bryant, Allen Robinson, Mike Evans.
And how many can he keep? 4.
Yeah.
And he can,
4 keepers, huh?
Here's the deal. In a 4-keeper league, I will say this.
10-team PPR.
I think he's going to get a lot of trade value for those quarterbacks. So, people...
I keep the last 4 guys.
Yep.
McCoy, Des, Robinson, Evans.
And then trade Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Because
Now, if it's if there's no flex and it's a 2-wide receiver league, do you say the same thing?
Yeah, I say the same thing because I think quarterbacks fetch great value. I know that people listening to this show who have listened for a while, they probably wouldn't pay any value for a quarterback because they realize the fallacy of quarterbacks being valuable by comparison to other positions. But the rest of your league probably doesn't. You're going to get the most total value by keeping those last 4 guys and trading Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Unless, of course, if it's a 2-quarterback league, then you keep both those guys.
I'm completely on board. I keep the 4 positional players and trade off or whatever. Let them go for the quarterbacks. 10-team, easier to find a valuable quarterback, easier to stream a quarterback. But it is not easy to replace 3 wide receiver 1 level guys.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw this in there before we go on to Chris's question from Missouri. If you want to see all those players, all 6 of those guys, video breakdowns on each of them, I haven't mentioned at the top of the show about our Ultimate Draft Kit that is available on the website right now. So I did want to throw in a quick plug
for pre-order right now.
For pre-order right now, but it's pretty cool. You're going to have over 100 different player profile videos in there, all the premium rankings. We've got off-season reports.
Sleepers,
We've got
breakouts, busts,
everything.
values.
We're genuinely, we've set out to make an off-season draft kit that is a value that seems like it's 10 times more than what you pay for it. So you can go on there right now and you can get it at a discount. That's ultimatedraftkit.com and see what we really think about Mike Evans, which we've probably already told you. So, all right, Chris in Miller, Missouri. Would you trade Thomas Rawls for Allen Robinson in a keeper league, half-point PPR? Team with Rawls has Gurley and Bell, and the team with Robinson has Julio, Amari, and Alshon. So would you trade Rawls for Allen Robinson in a keeper league, half point?
I would. I would for sure.
You would?
I would.
Okay.
You can keep up to 7 players in this half-point PPR, and absolutely I would trade Thomas Rawls for Allen Robinson.
Yes. In light of the rosters, for sure.
Yeah, because it's so big. I mean, if you're talking you can only keep 2 to 3 guys, you already have Julio, Cooper, and Alshon, then maybe I want Rawls on my team to balance out my starting lineup, and I'm not just wasting a guy on my bench. But because everyone's keeping that many guys, give me the monster wide receivers.
And the guy that's going to have presumably a longer career. Wide receivers, when you keep 7 guys, there's not as much changeover.
Almost a dynasty league.
Exactly.
It's right on the cusp there. Keaton.
Michael?
I only hope. He's in California, right? He's probably in Hollywood filming something.
Probably him. Hey,
it's
Michael.
Probably Michael Keaton.
I love Michael Keaton.
You were waiting for someone to jump in.
I was.
All right, keeping OBJ in the 8th. Need one more. 10-team PPR league. Is it C.J. Anderson in the 7th, Jordan Reed in the 10th, Duke Johnson in the 10th, Jay Ajayi in the 10th?
I can trade anyone I don't keep for picks.
I'll go first. I was tempted with C.J. Anderson. I'm not a huge believer in him, but the fact that you get him in the 7th is a good value. But I have to lean with Jordan Reed, Rule 86. And the reason is because when I look at drafting Jordan Reed this year, I see an extreme value. Like if he hits, if he replicates what he did last year, he is every bit worth a 2nd-round pick. But I can't give up a 2nd or a 3rd. I'm hard-pressed to even give up a 4th-round pick when the tight end position is deep. But if I can grab him at the 10th round, there's no risk. So that the upside there is far higher, I think, than anyone else on this list.
I agree. I'm going to go with Jordan Reed on that. What do you think, Mike?
It's absolutely Jordan Reed. From weeks 10 to 17, he was outscoring basically every other tight end by an average of 2 points a game. That includes Robert Gronkowski.
I don't believe it.
He was Jordan Reed was. I don't expect the pace that he had the second half of the year to be something he can sustain for an entire year, but we know that when he's healthy, he is the focal point of the offense for Kirk Cousins. So that's where I go.
Did I tell you guys that I was offered? We have our keeper league, which is a 3-keeper league that just recently had all the keepers are figured out now. I had one of the owners of the league come and up his offer for Mr. Julio Jones, and offered me 13, 21, and C.J. Anderson.
Oh, okay.
And I declined that offer. But what would you think about that?
I would not hesitate to decline that offer.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And for perspective for those listening, that means that obviously 3 rounds are gone. You don't keep people for picks. So essentially, the 1st-round pick is a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, kind of. More or less.
As soon as you get to the 2nd round, then it's pretty much true. A 2nd-rounder is a 4th round.
But basically what you're saying, in your opinion, Julio Jones is nearly untouchable in our format of 3 keepers.
What I'm really saying is that C.J. Anderson has a wide value range in the minds of fantasy owners. Some people, if they receive that offer and they really bought into C.J. Anderson, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
Some people who, like me, have my doubts about him, it's a no-brainer to say no. So it's more the point of C.J. Anderson, if you throw him out there, if you kind of tease him out there in your league, you might find 3 or 4 guys that love him and 3 or 4 that hate him. And those you're going to have to attach to the guys that love him if you want to move him.
Yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of shopping with Anderson.
All right, Chris in Lincoln, Nebraska. Do you guys ever play in MFL 10 leagues? If so, what is your general strategy? I'm in the middle of my first one and would appreciate any tips. I know, Jason, you've been in the middle of drafting one.
Yeah, I am in the middle of one right now. I love MFL 10s. For those of you that don't know, that's my fantasy league. It's basically $10 and you join a league. The thing I like about it's like a mock draft, except everybody's really trying. Nobody's trying out new strategies because if you win $100. And so some of my strategies it's a PPR league. It's a 3 wide receiver, 2 running back. So I tend to skew very heavily towards wide receivers. I really like getting good wide receivers at the top, and I want to make sure I've got at least 8 of them. Draft quarterbacks very, very late. Not much different than other things. I like to have 3 defenses, normally 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, but I'm fine going 3 on one of those. That'd be some of my tips.
All right, there you go. All right, Luke in Northbridge says, if Tom Brady falls to the 7th or 8th round, should I take him and then draft a quarterback later for the first 5 weeks or 4 weeks? Or does he just ignore quarterback the rest of the way in the draft and stream the quarterback position, as opposed to, maybe he just doesn't draft Tom Brady? What is his best option here?
Man, Brady, okay. 7th round is no for me. 8th round is likely still no. It all depends on the size of your bench. If you got a bench that's only 5 deep, and so you have 4 spots that you get to play with for the first 4 weeks, and that's 4 spots of the hot waiver guys that show up after weeks 1 and 2. But you're going to have to hold on to Brady, who provides nothing for your team in that time. You're going to be kicking yourself, wishing that you had a roster spot that you could free up. Now you could do smart trades of 2-for-1s earlier on and try and clear up a bench spot for that waiver periods. But 8th round, to spend it on Brady, a guy to miss 4 weeks, is really, really tough for me to do, and I would not do it.
I think you bring up a really good point with the bench size. It's something a lot of people don't think about going into a draft. If you've got a 6 bench, then it's much more manageable to pick him up. If you're only got 5 on the bench, then just push the value back later, right? But in the 8th round, if I've got 6 on my bench, I would take him.
It's really difficult in the beginning part of the season to roster somebody you cannot use at all and not have the flexibility to play with the waiver wire early or move guys in and out. It kind of eats at you earlier in the season more than it does late in the season. So, very good points there, Mike. All right, let's go to Al in New York. He said he just won the right to pick his draft position in a 12-man point-per-reception league. So he has his choice. He could pick anywhere from 1 to 12. Where would we pick and why?
I would pick, if it were me, I would pick at the 4th spot. Because to me, Le'Veon Bell at pick 4 is incredible value. That's who I'm hoping for at pick 4. If I get any of the other 3 top wide receivers in Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, or Antonio Brown, I am thrilled. So,
So 4 is a spot you're thrilled no matter what.
No matter what. And I
I used to say, play the game?
Yeah, I used to say, well, maybe I'll go like 5 and hope someone else takes, I don't want that game, because I'll tell you what, as soon as you pass those 4 to me, I drop off a cliff, and in a PPR, I'm just like, I wish I was so close to tasting that. You get to pick your spot, pick however many guys you love, whether you don't like Le'Veon Bell, well, then go for the 3rd, or if you
let me ask you this. You are well documented in your risk aversion for your first-round pick. It surprises me that you are so locked and loaded, ready to go with Le'Veon Bell as a top 4 pick. 2 years, catastrophic knee injury. We still don't know what his status is for the upcoming year, but you have, the way you're talking about him is you have no concerns over his knees.
I have no concerns over his knees. You are correct. I am a risk-averse person. There's a difference, I think, between having an injury history and having, if you watch the play, right, where he got his knee wrecked on, that was just a monstrosity of a play where he just got his knee wrecked. Any running back you take can have that play happen, but it wasn't a reoccurring injury. It wasn't like he went to cut and all of a sudden the knee that he had injured got re-injured, and now there's a worry there. And the fact that he's had it before, came back and was dominant.
But wouldn't you expect that there's only so many times you can have these ligaments in your knee patched up before things get worse and there's a degenerative effect and you're more susceptible to getting hurt.
Well, I mean, yes, but I'm assuming this is a redraft league. I think he's going to be fine week 1. I don't see him as a huge risk. Maybe that's foolish of me. What do you think, Andy?
I don't think that's foolish because I fall into the same camp. If you've seen our Instagram, Jason and I, we go out we can play basketball with the best of them, and we watched Lev Bell go and dunk the ball on Instagram a few weeks ago. We went out and did the same.
You know, on that video, I got
close.
Oh, I was just an inch off. Just a bit outside.
An inch off of the ground.
But I got criticized for my double dribbling.
As you should have.
But the thing is like I was just there. I was tired after a game. Dude, dribbling's my jam. Oh, don't you dare. I will not apologize. My dribbling is excellent. Par excellence. I need another Instagram video tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to need to see the handles.
Yeah, you're going to need to see the handles. You go on to our Instagram and follow. We'll put an Instagram video of me breaking Andy's ankles tomorrow on Instagram.
Apparently, we're going to set the camera up for the entire workout.
Also,
tomorrow.
No, we just say, I'm going to drive on you one time, put the camera on, and I guarantee it'll happen.
Oh, I thought he was bringing a large hammer. 'Cause that's the only way you're breaking his ankles, my man.
There you go. All right. Yeah, go check that out on Instagram. Watch Jason's Sean Kemp-style dunk.
That was delightful.
All right, Shark himself.
Ooh.
A Shark in New York City.
Dangerous.
New York City.
There it is. I want to someone asked us to pretend Sam Elliott to say New York City for us, like paste picante sauce. I want to start a keeper league. What rules and team composition would you recommend? It'll be a 10-team point per reception league. I guess you got those rules figured out. The league that we are making into a keeper league is a 2-quarterback league. We kind of want to keep that. Any advice on a keeper rule setup? Thank you, gentlemen.
So he really just wants advice on the keepers themselves. There's 2 ways you can go for keeping guys, right? You can say we're going to keep 3 guys, and essentially it's not for picks. You just keep those 3 guys, and you can make rules about, you can't keep the same position or something like that. I find that the more common approach, which also is fun for finding value on draft day, is to have however many guys you keep. I prefer 3. I think, Mike, you've gone on record at 2. Right?
I like 2, yeah. I like 2.
Is basically where you draft them the next year. You get to keep them at that draft number. If you keep them another year, you minus 2 rounds or something like that. But I would say 2 or 3 keepers. And I would recommend probably a draft pick. And my main piece of advice, I can't even believe this wasn't first out of my mouth, is if you get a guy off of waivers, public service announcement, please do not let that guy be picked or kept for the last pick in your draft, like a 16th rounder, and you keep that for a waiver guy. I hate that. If you want to be able to keep waivers, then make it go based on ADP or something, ADP minus around, something like that. Or
any concerns about a 2-quarterback league maybe limiting positions because of that?
That was going to be my one piece of advice is make sure you limit the positions. If you
you could keep one at every position.
Yeah, and not necessarily. That becomes difficult when you're talking a 3 position or a 3 keeper. I guess everyone's probably going to keep a quarterback along with a running back and a wide receiver. But I would just have a one. You can only keep 1 quarterback.
I like in a 10-man league the idea of starting with 2 keepers. Can't be the same position. I like that a lot.
All right, let's talk to let's see. James in Burbank here has a question. He's heard us say that you should draft knowing what kind of scoring system your league uses. Can you break down the types of players I should be drafting for each scoring type? And
that's a very long question, James.
Well,
I think there's
no.
some
Look,
simple answers.
he the subject of this question too was fantasy basics, right? And we try to be thorough in the fact that we explain some of the basic tenets of fantasy football to brand new players. This is such a popular game anymore. There are so many office leagues that people there. You've got. Elliot in accounting, right? And Elliot doesn't know a thing about the league. Yeah, I don't know why I picked him. But you have a different tier of knowledge in these office leagues, and people want to. You don't have to be the best in the universe and know every player's stats, but you'd like to take an incremental knowledge jump up in your fantasy football knowledge. And so he had titled this Fantasy Basics. So let's explain scoring types briefly, and everybody else who already knows this information, just indulge this few minutes.
I think you
here.
can do it pretty quickly of you saying you have standard scoring where a reception does not count for a point. And then you have half point and full point PPR, which is a point per reception. So just the act of catching a ball is worth a point. So let's say I catch a ball and I go down for 2 yards, Julian Edelman style. Well, I just got 1.2 points
in a PPR.
In a PPR. And so it's
whereas
all
in a standard league you would have scored 0.2 points.
So it's all about your preference. And the biggest difference is PPR was introduced because running backs were so dominant, and that's how you won your league. Wide receivers seem to have
less
value compared to running backs. The league has changed since then, where receivers are now the new normal, and running backs score far less.
Less workhorse backs in the NFL.
Exactly. What I like about a half point or full point PPR is it expands who is useful. These third down backs who their specialty is catching the ball. You bump their value up so they're actually usable. It opens the pool of players that you can use with not just like, crap, I got to put this guy into my flex and he's going to stink. You can put someone in and at least get a couple points in a half point or full point PPR.
Yeah, I don't think that it really, in a PPR, you're going to value, like you said, pass catching backs, and you're going to value wide receivers a little bit more than you normally do. So they might be, on par with running backs. Other than that, the other most common thing is you've got 6 point or 4 point per passing touchdown leagues. And in that, a lot of times people think, well, I'm in a 6 point per passing touchdown league, so the quarterbacks do matter in my league. And there's no difference between a 6 point and a 4 point when it comes to how do quarterbacks rank up against running backs and wide receivers.
And especially quarterbacks against other quarterbacks.
Yeah. However, within that area, it does change. If you're within quarterbacks, you're going to bump up the guys who rush for touchdowns more than other guys
in a 4 point league.
In a 4 point league. So I would say that's most of it. And then last piece of advice on this, because I know last year I heard a couple people say, I tried streaming and it just didn't work in my 2 quarterback league. And so I just want to constantly remind people, if you're in a 2 quarterback league, quarterbacks are every bit as important as running backs. There is the whole thing goes out of the window. You're not streaming quarterbacks in a 2 quarterback league.
Yeah, and James, you can also visit our website and see each of our rankings for each scoring system. So you can kind of see which guys are moving around a little bit and which ones aren't. We talk about certain players having more or less value based on the league scoring type, and you'll see the fluctuations in our rankings themselves. So you can take a look there as well. All right, this one is Ehrlich, Richard, and Danesh, 3 people in California.
Okay.
He has picks 8 and 11 in a 10-team league. I'm thinking about targeting 2 elite running backs, such as Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, or Adrian Peterson. What is a good strategy to draft with these 2 picks? Can you get any of those 4 guys with picks 8 and 11?
I can say this: if you can grab 2 of those guys at 8 and 11, that is a great strategy. We try to tell people stay water. Don't go in with, I got to get 2 running backs or I got to get 2 wide receivers, because you never know who's going to be on the board. That being said, if you say I'm going to get 2 of these guys if they're both on the board, well then yeah, sure, that'll be great. And then you look for wide receivers later. You just want, at those 2 picks, what you want is elite guys. You don't want to say I want a running back and then all the elite running backs are gone and then you still draft a running back. If all the elite running backs are gone, then elite wide receivers are still there, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I talked about this on Tuesday's show of busting and what happened with running backs, where it was a kind of an anomalous year for the bust rate was much higher than the last 4. So, and people overreact to these things. So these high-level running backs could drop in your draft, which then don't pass on the value of a monster running back dropping to you. And then the final note, apparently these names are characters from Silicon Valley, the television show, which I do not watch.
I see the preview to that show at the very end of Game of Thrones every week.
And or maybe it was actually them. Maybe they wrote the question into us.
As their characters.
They're
very dedicated to their craft.
So let's just take 1 second here and think about some of the important dates coming up for the NFL. We're heading, it is May, or as you would say.
It's gonna be May.
Yeah, that's terrible. The NFL, what do we got going on here? It's the 18th of May today. You've got the rookies had come in the beginning of May, right? And then on June, we have some restricted free agent deadlines. Rookie Symposium is the end of June 19th through the 25th.
And then training camp.
And then training camp is kind of the middle of July. Is that right?
I think it's they stagger when they start, but the end of June. They'll start firing
up. End of June, early July is when you start to see some of that. And there are some different deadlines with
AKA the ACLs. ACL watch is the middle of June.
Yeah, and middle of July as well is the deadline for a designated franchise player to sign them to a multi-year. That's the last date that they could have signed a multi-year contract extension.
Right. The real question is, what is the date of Hard Knocks?
I was just going to ask.
When does Hard Knocks start? Because this is what I need to know. I need to see all the Jeff Fisher facial reactions to everything that I can get a hold of, and I want to see Jared Goff.
What in the world is our good friend, the late-round quarterback, J.J. Zacharias?
Oh, he's going to explode.
What in the world is he going to do?
He won't be able to accomplish anything because he will be making Jeff Fisher gifts.
Non-stop.
Put the articles on hold. Put the pod on hold because I got gifts to make.
Now, if I recall, Hard Knocks generally has preseason games as part of that series.
Yes.
And so you're talking about late July, early August, I would think.
Hard Knocks starts in August.
Yeah, the beginning of August. So, I'm so excited. I can't wait for the Arizona Cardinals to win the Super Bowl this year. Again, just like the last few years when I predicted it. So, all right, that is it for today's show. Thanks again for listening.
Hey, everyone, stay tuned on YouTube for the show after the show.
That's right. That sounded half-hearted.
That was completely genuine.
Completely hearted.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.